Let's talk risk. Hey, I'm actually filming this on Chaos Rising release day, so happy Chaos Rising release day. I hope everyone's got some product, and if you've opened some product, I hope you've pulled that very nice Greninja SIR. Well, risk. Let's jump into it. Now, the title of this video, you're ignoring the real risk in Pokemon investing. Now, what I'm talking about is downside risk. When it comes to Pokemon investing, everyone talks about upside. You see it everywhere, whether it's on Reddit, Instagram pages, shorts, reels, YouTube, creators, like everywhere. Everyone is saying things like, buy these 10 cards, they're going to skyrocket in price. 5 sealed products that are going to shoot up in price, including myself. We all do those videos because at the end of the day, most products have been going up in price like crazy recently. Like, you could have mentioned any card, any sealed product and gone, these are going to be a good investment. You know, these will double your money in 12 months. And if you'd said that 12 months ago, you were probably right. So everyone is stationed on upside, upside, upside. No one talks about mitigating risk though. And here's what I want to delve into today. I guess the Pokemon investing space, you know, it's no longer seen as a collectible hobby. It still is to a lot of people, and that's probably the most important part of the hobby. It is a collectible. I like to collect sealed product. I also like to invest in sealed product. But moreover than that, the recent influx with financial journals and articles and even changes to taxes around the world, a lot of people are turning back to nostalgic, tangible items, and people are really seeing Pokemon as, I guess, almost like a financial asset class. And therefore, if you're thinking of it that way, you've got to treat it that way to some degree. Like, what happens if more supply comes? What happens if in the future the market gets saturated because everyone tries to sell at once? And that leads to the big factor, which is liquidity. So you've got to talk to yourself in some way, shape or form about downside risk. And typically in the past, there wasn't a lot of downside risk. If we rewind all the way back, geez, it sort of feels like ages ago, but sort of feels like yesterday at the same time, doesn't it? You know, we're at the start of 2020 and there's a few cases of coronavirus coming out and the world's starting to grow into a increasingly spiraling panic. And as a result, everything goes mad. And the general rule of thumb, as soon as COVID hit mid-2020 and collectibles started going crazy, was buy box, wait, watch it double in price, rinse and repeat. That was a pretty normal investor habit for a lot of people that got into the hobby around 2020. You bought a box of Evolving Skies, you waited 9 months, you watched it double, you sold it, you bought Lost Origin, you waited 9 months or 12 months, you watched it double, you sold it, you just kept rinsing, repeating. Or you bought multiple, you kept some, sold off some. There were so many different strategies that you could have used in the Pokemon investing space. But it was very, very simple. And it was simple because everything saw this, particularly nostalgic products like Pokemon, everything saw this asset inflation cycle due to, like, particularly in the Pokemon instance, increase in content creators, things like stimulus checks being thrown out. We don't need to go back into that. The point was, that was the strategy. And you know what? Then it stopped. If you're new to the hobby, like you've only been here the last 12 months or so, or 18 months or even 2 years, it stopped. The tap turned off. It really did. You were buying products like Fusion Strike and Lost Origin. In some cases, particularly Fusion Strike, you could have been sitting on Fusion Strike for 3 years and made next to no gains. And in reality, the gains were actually not too bad. You might have bought that box for $100 and in 3 years' time it was worth $140. But it wasn't what you were used to. What you were used to was buy a box, wait 9 months, watch it double, sell it. And that stopped. Throughout the early Scarlet and Violet era, Scarlet and Violet Base, Paldea Evolved, Obsidian Flames. The list goes on from the early Scarlet and Violet sets, even Paldean Fates when it first came out, which is now turned into this almost historic set with a historic card inside it with Bubble Mew. That sat on shelves. People weren't really wanting Pokemon card product. The old adage of buy the box, wait it out, watch it double, sell it, and rein in the cash had sort of stopped. But now's where the video, I guess, becomes a little bit interesting. Now it's all on steroids. Now it's gone absolutely crazy. And I think this is where we need to bring up the conversation about downside risk a little bit more. Before we do that though, I just wanted to give a shout out to today's video sponsor, which is of course the Collector app. There'll be a link in the description to download it. You can follow my journey down in the content creators section. Collector is the one-stop shop to put all your singles and sealed collections inside there. You can put everything. You can have a look at how you perform. You can have a look at how your whole collection is performing in the market. You can see what the best market movers are inside there. You can jump into set analytics. You can filter from the top tier hits inside each set to see how they're performing. You can see what the total set value of any given set is. All these things, in my opinion, are so crucial to helping you throughout your journey as a Pokemon, whether it's sealed or singles collector / investor. Moreover than that, as a pro user, you can go way back in time and check out really cool amounts of data and how things have been performing over time. Again, there'll be a link in the description to download the Collector app. All right, let's talk about this downside risk. I was scrolling back through my photos and I found this. I'm going to bring it up on the screen now. This was interesting. I was going to do a video on this a bit over 12 months ago, and it was all to do with risk, both upside and downside. And you can see I made 3 columns. In the left column, I had vintage Wizards of the Coast era. In the middle column, I had that more mid-era, well, mid to late era stuff like Sword and Shield. And in the right column, I had the latest Scarlet and Violet sets that had just released. Things like Stellar Crown, Surging Sparks, etc., and Journey Together. And you can see some of the commentary I had for my video. And what I wanted to talk about a bit over 12 months ago was that the bubble feels like it's heating up. The Pokemon market feels like it's heating up. The safest place with the lowest downside risk, in my opinion, back then was to invest in vintage, because vintage was tried and tested. It had extremely organic demand. It wasn't it wasn't investors selling to investors. It wasn't, I suppose, scalpers selling to the general public. It had organic demand. And in return of that, we should see in massive upturns in the Pokemon bubble, or even Pokemon investing, collecting space, we should see massive demand move to that segment. Now, the mid-tier stuff, although it's probably not quite hoarded as much as what it is now, it was still produced, so printed a lot more than some of the older stuff. And when I was talking vintage, I wasn't just talking Wizards of the Coast. I was going to talk about EX era. I was even going to go all the way up to XY era and go the early XY era stuff was actually printed quite low compared to the later XY stuff, which was, printed quite low in comparison to what Sword and Shield and therefore then Scarlet and Violet was printed. And the whole idea behind this premise was to talk about downside risk. Now, first caveat, if you buy a sealed Pokemon card product at recommended retail price, I think you have next to no downside risk. I really do. The conversation I wanted to have though was around the start of the scalping, and that's why I put high risk in some of those later sets. And here's my reason behind it. We know more people are hoarding sealed product than ever before. We know a lot of those people are just selling to each other, and that feels a little bit unorganic. We also know that people have pallets of this stuff stashed away. We also know that the adage of buying something from a store was getting very difficult. What would happen is scalpers would be buying from brick and mortar stores, so camping outside, making sure they can get the product to resell it, or they were going online, setting up bots, making it really hard for the general public, collectors, etc. to buy product and buy it for themselves to resell it. So what was happening is everything got taken from the primary sellers really quickly and moved to the secondary market almost straight away. And when it was in the hands of the secondary market then decided the price of the product. So you could no longer buy things at recommended retail price. And my thoughts around that is if you're having to pay 2 times the price for a booster box, an elite trainer box, or in some cases 3 times the recommended retail price for some of these products that have just come out, particularly when so many people are doing that to keep them sealed, there is actually a little bit more risk there. So again, back to the first caveat, if you could have bought any Pokemon product across the last 10, 15, 20, 25 years at retail price, you're going to be safe. That's a no-brainer. The point I was going to make on this video, and I thought it's a good time to revisit it now, because And the reason really is sets like Phantasmal Flames, sets like Mega Evolution Base, sets like Destined Rivals that have literally come out very soon have absolutely skyrocketed in price. Now, again, if you bought them at a recommended retail price, that's amazing. Like, the profit you have made in a short period of time is unbelievable. But if you're buying these products off the secondary market, like if you're buying Phantasmal Flames for $500 US, talk to yourself or ask yourself this question: is there any downside risk here? And the answer you should ask, and this is what I was going to talk through this picture that I had up before, is there actually is a little bit of downside risk. What happens if Phantasmal Flames cops a massive reprint? Now, the hard thing is they haven't really been reprinting booster boxes, but we don't know if that's going to be the case. The other thing you've got to remember is this is in print for another few years. What happens if the new print group gets up and running, new print facility gets up and running and reprints a bunch of Phantasmal Flames booster boxes? All this is, no one knows what the future is going to hold. Like, we literally don't. But if you ask yourself, can those things happen? The answer is yes. That's different to will these things happen, because will these things happen is an unknown, but can these things happen? That's a yes, which means you are carrying some level of downside risk into that purchase. You could buy 10 Phantasmal Flames booster boxes at $500 because you think in the next 6 months they're going to go to $800 and you're going to make $3,000. 10 boxes, $300 a pop. That's a quick, easy $3,000. But then you go to yourself, well, what's the risk here? They could actually go down in price. Then you cycle back and you go to the middle tier that I had there. Things like Sword and Shield products, things that already have some time on their side. They've already aged. Sets like Chilling Reign, sets like Lost Origin, sets like Silver Tempest, Astral Radiance, sets that are sitting around that, $400 to $700 a box. So roughly the same prices as sets that have just come out, like Phantasmal Flames and Destined Rivals. Sets that do have a little bit of recency bias behind them. I'm talking older sets. These are, in some cases, over 5 years old. They have age behind them. Think about your risk factor there. If you bought a Chilling Reign booster box for $450, what's your risk there compared to Phantasmal Flames? Yes, there is a risk that the market can collapse, World War III could start, so many things could happen, and it could go down in price. But your risk is so much lower in a percentage. You have a much higher percentage chance of that going up than you do that going down. You also have a brilliant chance of Phantasmal Flames going up in price. This isn't a fear-mongering video to say Phantasmal Flames is overpriced, it's not going to go up anymore. It might never get a reprint and the booster box might be $1,000 in the next 12 months. The thing that I'm trying to get you to ask yourself is risk. Is there some downside risk here? Because if we are truly treating it as a financial asset, that's what you'd ask yourself. If you're looking at buying stocks and you're looking at a stock that's $15, but there's a chance it could go back to $7.50 or $8, and that risk is literally 50-50, would you do it? Well, there's also the chance it could go to $30 really quickly. Okay, well, that all depends on your risk tolerance and what sort of person you are. But if there's an asset there's a share that's $15 and it's got, solidified, set in history that it pretty much has next to no downside risk. Maybe it'll go back to $14 a share. Maybe it'll go back to $13 a share, but it's a very, very resilient share. But over time, it's just going to go up and up and up. That's sort of the comparison I want to make between something that's got some age behind it. Even sets like Battle Styles that have a little bit of age behind them. There's little to no downside risk in those. Now, back when I was going to do this video, I was saying all the EX era, the Wizards of the Coast, they have even less downside risk because you've got to remember, sealed product is a deflationary asset. There's less and less of it on the market as time goes by. And as a result, there's next to no, it's just getting so lean. EX era booster boxes, Gold Stars in PSA 10s, Wizards of the Coast era boxes, Legendary Collection for argument's sake, they're just getting so lean on the ground. And Sword and Shield still has a fair bit of supply. And, maybe someone floods the market with that supply. And that's where your downside risk comes from. But over time, if you hold those, the supply will just get less and less and less. Compare that to super ultra modern. If you can get in at retail, perfect. We've already gone over that. No downside risk at all. But if you're buying 2 to 3 times recommended retail price on sealed product, you are carrying a little bit of downside risk if there's a reprint that's happening. That's the message I wanted to let everyone know, just to make people aware. I'm Michael, this is PokeOz. Thank you so much for tuning in. Your support means a lot, and I'll catch everyone next time.